Hey guys, what is going on? This is WrestleMania, back with another episode. It's time to find out what the Usos have to say after unifying the Raw and Smackdown tag team titles last week. Join us now as WrestleMania looks at the 27th May edition of the Blue Brand, as well as all the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know, including Randy Orton injury update, Charlotte and Andrade tie the knot, Tony Khan mocks the WWE, and more. As always, WrestleMania won't recap the matches, but look at the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. The good. Sami Zayn, Bloodline member or mascot? Sami Zayn's delusional belief that he is a member of the Bloodline, albeit an honorary one since, as Sami noted, he's not a blood relative, continues to provide some laughs on the Blue Brand as the Usos continue to be amazed at Zayn's self-professed affiliation, and fans wonder how things will play out. As bizarre as this storyline is, it's a good way to add another level to the Bloodline act while Roman Reigns is off TV, and there's no one who does comedy better than Sami Zayn on Smackdown. With any luck, this will give Jey and Jimmy Uso a chance to show that they are more than just supporting characters in the WWE. While WWE has pushed them significantly during their time in the Bloodline, WWE needs to develop them as more than flunkies who just happen to be undisputed tag team champions. Shanky and Jinder corny comedy. The current comedy storyline of Jinder Mahal's tag team partner focusing more on dancing than wrestling is corny, but nonetheless, it has a certain comedic charm that the WWE is sometimes able to pull off, much like R-Truth's inexhaustible ability to entertain fans with the 24/7 championship. While it's unfortunate that Mahal has been reduced to this, it's better than being stuck on main event, and it could even help elevate Shanky. WWE's brilliant build-up for Ricochet vs. Gunther. Tonight's tag match between the teams of Ricochet and Drew Gulak against Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser was a good example of how to utilize multiple wrestlers to build up or sustain a singles feud. It's obvious that Ricochet is going to defend his Intercontinental Championship against Gunther sometime soon, but WWE has been taking its time with the build-up. Best of all, WWE hasn't put Ricochet and Gunther into endless singles matches so that it'll seem special when they battle for the title. It's hard to understand why WWE doesn't do this on a regular basis, but we'll enjoy it and hope for more instances of better booking. WWE building up undercard. Tonight's Smackdown showed the WWE is working on building up its undercard, both with the women's and men's division. While the argument can be made that it's a case of too little too late, at least WWE recognizes it needs to start building new stars while Roman Reigns is off doing who knows what. Stars are rarely made overnight, but if WWE can elevate Gunther, Shotzi, Aaliyah, Raquel Rodriguez, or Madcap Moss, they'll be off to a good start. The bad. A predictable partner. When is a mystery partner not a mystery? That's not a riddle, but a segue for tonight's six-man main event between the Brawling Brutes and the team of the New Day and a mystery partner. While the match was what you'd expect, a by-the-numbers brawl with the babyfaces getting the win thanks to the heels no longer having the numbers advantage, there was no mystery as to who the New Day would pick. SmackDown's roster is so thin right now that it was basically a question of Drew Gulak and Drew McIntyre. Where are the stars? Tonight's show reminded WrestleMania of those unfortunate times when a number of superstars were sidelined with COVID, resulting in WWE scrambling to throw together a wrestling show without airing multiple matches with the same wrestlers. Tonight's show was sorely lacking in star power other than perhaps Ronda Rousey, and it exposed how former main eventers like Drew McIntyre and Kofi Kingston aren't pushed the same anymore. As noted earlier, WWE seems to be working on its undercard, but it has a long way to go. For example, Xia Li and Aaliyah received a backstage cameo that didn't do much, although it's better than a starring role in catering, when they could have worked a match. Riddle's rationale. Riddle's comment that new tag team partner Shinsuke Nakamura is no Randy Orton is baffling unless WWE plans on turning the King of Strong Style heel after taking offense at Riddle's comments. While some might argue that Riddle's comment was meant to show how much he idolizes Orton, it does nothing for Shinsuke or the team of Riddle and Shinsuke. Poor promotion for Hell in a Cell. Did you know WWE have a pay-per-view coming up a week from Saturday? You might be based on the ads you've seen, but who's wrestling and why should fans tune into the show? Other than Kevin Owens going on about Ezekiel, there was no promotion for the show, which isn't surprising since there are no SmackDown matches booked for the show yet. and WWE wonders why it had to move Money in the Bank from a stadium to a smaller venue. The Downright Ugly. Nothing ugly but a dull Smackdown. Fans got to see some good matches, but unless you're a work rate junkie, there were no storylines of substance. The absence of Roman Reigns is already showing, and not necessarily due to Reigns being so over, but because WWE has built him up as a main eventer at the expense of everyone else. News: Randy Orton injury update. Topping today's news is an update on Randy Orton's health. You'll likely recall how Orton was written off WWE TV after the post-match attack he suffered on the 20th May edition of Smackdown, and Riddle's revelation on the 23rd May Raw that Orton has been dealing with back issues for some time now. WWE.com recently tweeted an update on Orton's condition. Randy Orton is currently undergoing consultations with neurosurgeons and orthopedic spine surgeons to determine the extent of his injury and to recommend course of treatment. However, is Orton's condition as bad as WWE is saying? Wrestling News' Paul Davis commented, "While it's possible that Orton is dealing with an injury, it's also worth noting that Orton gets pockets of time off throughout the year because he has a reduced schedule, so WWE could be exaggerating the extent of his injuries." Rumor has it that Orton will battle Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. There were reports of Riddle wrestling Reigns at Money in the Bank, but as WrestleLamia noted in our previous news video, Reigns may not even be at Money in the Bank. Tony Khan mocks WWE's Money in the Bank move. Speaking of Money in the Bank, AEW President Tony Khan made an indirect reference to the announcement of WWE moving Money in the Bank from Allegiant Stadium to the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Khan tweeted, "Genius move trying to take on Dana and UFC in Vegas during International Fight Week." As WrestleLamia discussed at our website, it'll be interesting to see how WWE President Nick Khan responds to the lower-than-expected ticket sales for an event he had hoped to make as big as WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and the Royal Rumble. Jeff Jarrett returns to WWE. Jeff Jarrett is back in the WWE, but it won't be in a wrestling capacity. Instead, Jarrett is working as a top executive. PW Insider is reporting that Jarrett will work in the WWE's live event department, with one source claiming Jarrett is taking over the entire department. Although Jarrett still wrestles, the 54-year-old will likely be very busy as he works on improving WWE's live events. Although the WWE Hall of Famer is best known for his wrestling career, he also has experience working in the front office, whether it's from his time helping his dad Jerry Jarrett with NWA TNA Wrestling or his work with his promotion Global Force Wrestling. WWE Superstar returns to AEW. The Young Bucks vs. Hardys feud got personal tonight when the Bucks brought in the Hardys' former manager Gangrel as part of their introduction for their bout against Taylor Rust and John Cruz. The Bucks dressed as the Hardy Boys, while Brandon Cutler dressed as Lita, something no one needed or wanted to see. Nick and Mac Jackson even entered to the stock music WWE used for the Hardys back in their Attitude Era run and hammed things up by cosplaying Matt and Jeff. Things went south for Gangrel after the match, however, as the Bucks blindsided him and began a beatdown. Thankfully, the Hardys showed up and made the save, beating down Brandon Cutler for his poor Lita cosplay. Charlotte and Andrade married. Last but not least, congratulations to Charlotte Flair and Andrade El Idolo on the recent nuptials. Wrestling News' Paul Davis is reporting that several wrestling stars were in attendance, including Apollo Crews, Finn Balor, Rey Mysterio, and Lena Finine, aka Nia Jax. Charlotte was written off WWE TV at WrestleMania Backlash after Ronda Rousey kayfabe broke her arm during their I Quit match. Davis reports that Flair is expected back in time for SummerSlam. WrestleLamia sends its best wishes to the new wrestling couple. Well guys, there you have it, WrestleLamia's look at the 27th May edition of Smackdown, including the good, the bad, and the downright ugly, as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know in wrestling. Be sure to leave your comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time for some more wrestling content.